podcast at gmail.com is our email address. If you're watching live on YouTube, drop us a comment. Obviously, like and subscribe. Gordon, a lot of news coming in right before we start recording today. This is
lots of news
on the fly.
Breaking news. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, Christian Coleman, his suspension is being reduced to 18 months instead of 2 years, which means he'll still miss the Olympics, but this time he will be able to compete in the World Championships in Eugene. So I guess that's the compromise here where, hey, take away one of the global championships and not two away from me. He already had the compromise by it being a 2 year instead of 4 because it's not a technical positive doping test. It's just a missed test violation. But I guess he's got to be happy with that result, right? It's better than nothing. He's in the middle of his prime. To not be able to run in back-to-back global champs would be very hard to stay motivated. But now he gets to watch the Olympics from home and see who his competition will be in 2022.
If I'm doing the math right, though, if they held it at 2 years, he would have been back by mid-May 2022. So he would have been okay to compete at the World Champs, but he would not have had much of a runway into that World Championship year. He would have had to done a series of very, very serious time trials to get prepped because, I mean, we don't know the full schedule yet for 2022, but we would assume that those championships would be July, or sorry, the trials, the U.S. championships would be late June, early July. So he would have had a little bit of time to get ready. Yeah, the headline for me here is obviously confirmed that he's missing the Olympics. I want to read the quote that he put out. He says, "While I appreciate that the arbitrators correctly found that I'm a clean athlete, I'm obviously disappointed I'll miss the Olympic Games this summer." He went on to say, "I look forward to representing the United States at both World Championships in 2022, indoors and outdoors." So there you go. The indoor part is now possible, whereas it wasn't. And Coleman's a guy who's had a very successful indoor career. Indoors and outdoors, especially the first ever World Championships held in the United States next summer, where I plan to defend my world title against a new Olympic champion in the 100 meters. Kind of like setting the stage there already, kind of giving a tease there about whoever the new Olympic champion will be, because it's not going to be Usain Bolt. We did an interview with Coleman, if people want to go back and jump in the archives, when this first happened, right? When this suspension, when this news came out of that December missed test that led to all this, he came and talked to us and gave his side of the story. I thought at that point, that there was a chance it would be reduced to maybe 18 months. If he was very fortunate, a year. But the fact that then information came out later about how they had receipts of where he was at the exact times looked more and more like he was going to miss the Olympics. And now we know. From a fan's perspective, you at least get clarity ahead of time. Now, I know it's 2 months before the Olympic trials, but we've been previewing the 100, talking a lot about the 100. There's a great 100 on tap this weekend, and it helps to know for sure who's in and who's out. So those are my feelings right now.
Yeah. Clarity, even though I kind of felt like it was a done deal. I didn't see things getting changed much. But we talked about this is a opportunity now for one and maybe two U.S. 100-meter runners. I mean, two, because there's one athlete who probably wouldn't have made the individual team who's going to now get that third spot. And then there's another athlete who wouldn't have gotten sixth. They would have got seventh because Coleman would have been there. Will now get to be on the relay pool. So Coleman got his start by making the relay pool in 2016, went out of college at Tennessee. So now there's another college kid potentially out there, maybe a Michael Williams, a Terrence Laird, a Matt Bowling, who can kind of sneak in and get that top 6 spot. I feel like we talked about this in nauseum. I felt like the year of the pandemic was a year of missed tests and cancellations, track meet cancellations. So not sure what else I can add to the conversation except that, hey man, there's consequences to making a mental mistake, which is what he did. He made a mental mistake. I don't think it was on purpose. I think it was just like, what are the odds? It's fine. Maybe he's been able to get away with it by like forgetting to do it by running to a store really quick and no one came knocking. But then there's that one time that they're there, and that's how they get you. So he learned his lesson. I'm sure he's now hiring someone to update his whereabouts failures every other minute. So make sure it never happens again.
If you remember, one part of his defense, he was mentioning in previous instances he had received a call, and I'm reading for this NBC article here where it says the panel was also sympathetic to Coleman's assertion that he did not receive a phone call from the drug tester in an attempt to find him. Quote, closer examination of the training material, this is the CAS decision, in fact suggests that the training received by the athlete reinforced the practice of a DCO, doping control officer, placing a call before the expiry of the 60-minute slot. So basically saying the reason he thought that he should get a call is because that's what he learned was that he was getting calls. So this is something in the future that they need to clarify and clean up. Obviously, this is going to be a very high-profile example for other athletes to follow, to know that that is not the expectation, that that is not the rule. You can, in fact, get charged with a missed test, even if you do not get a call. But I thought that was an interesting part because that was one of the parts he was mostly pushing back on of, hey, usually in this scenario, in this situation, I receive a call. But I think once they established that he wasn't there in his residence that day in December, that it was going to be very hard for him to be eligible in time for the Olympics. And just a roller coaster couple of years, almost missed Doha, remember, had to go. And then the case got dropped by USADA because one of the tests got backdated. Just a lot of up and down here. Here's hoping it's 2022, fresh start, and there's not as much back and forth going on here, and he will be part of that U.S. contingent trying to make the team for Eugene in 2022. Because you mentioned he's in the prime of his career. This was his prime Olympics. He had the 2016 games where he made the relay pool. Then this was his prime Olympics, because not everybody has these careers that go on for 5-6 Olympiads like we see some of the superstars. So he's got Eugene 2022. He's got 2023, 2024. Still have some opportunities in front of him, but this is a blow to miss your prime Olympics coming off a world title.
Where do you think this will affect his legacy? Let's assume that he is on fire. He breaks the American record. He wins the next three next three global outdoor 100-meter titles. He's on an American record 4x1 relay that wins a couple titles. He wins a few more 60 world titles. He basically has the perfect career you could have, right? Let's say he ends with 4 100-meter gold global titles and then a couple 4x1s and some 60s.
Yeah.
What do you think this situation will have on his legacy?
Besides from the fact that it's one less gold that he would have, are you talking about just the
idea that he was not allowed? Yeah, he was not allowed to compete.
Yeah, listen, I think people are generally forgiving. There's obviously going to be a constituency out there who's never going to look past this, and they've done that with other athletes before, of just like, hey, if you serve a suspension, I'm going to look at your career differently from the jump. But I think generally speaking, fans are able to look past this stuff, to be forgiving, especially if someone shows contrition and moves on from it. So I don't like if he runs out, if he does what you say he does, which will be very hard to do. But if he's able to do that, I think people will still view him as one of the greatest of all time. And it's a tough road to hoe to get to Usain Bolt. But even if he ran in if he ran in the Tokyo Olympics, it was going to be hard to live up to what obviously Bolt did. That would have required something otherworldly. So I think he can get right back in there. He has the opportunity with 22, 23, 24, 25. Four championships right there in a row. If he can go on a sort of run, then absolutely he'll be viewed as one of the best still. I don't think, because it's a missed test, I think people view that differently. And before you get at me in the comments, I understand the issue. I know the reason behind it. I know the history of the sport. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, people view missed tests a lot differently than they view failed tests. It's just the reality.
I wish I knew that when I was in high school. I wish it's better to miss a test than to take it and get an F on it. If
Yeah.
only I
Well,
knew this
what do you
perspective
think?
from.
What do you think about
Uh,
your question?
I don't think it will have an effect. I also think, in a weird way, the pandemic can kind of camouflage it, because when you look back on this like 20 years from now, you'll be like, oh, whoa, like look at that. He had let's talk about the greats. We're like both 80s. Like, all right, Christian Coleman, he had 4 gold medals. That's pretty good. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
what happened in there? Oh yeah, that was the pandemic year. And we might just kind
Mm-hmm.
of forget that it was because of a missed test. I think the sports world has been weird. Kind of everything got shifted and weird, that he might be able to kind of hide behind that. But yeah, like you said, missed test is not the same thing as a failed test. And the more and more you look into it, it was a gotcha. And I get it. You play by the rules, you got to follow the rules. But like in the end of the day, like this is not a situation where he heard a knock on a door and he jumped over a fence, hid underneath a mattress so they couldn't find him, Like, and it just makes me think about like what situation, like in a world, what situation would this have been a way for him? I just can't think of a scenario where him dodging being back like 5 minutes later or whatever when he was back would all of a sudden been him going to Chipotle would have been a way for him to flush his system out and be able to have a clean test. Like it wouldn't have happened. Clearly it was, he made a mistake. The doping control people were playing by the rules, no ifs, ands, or buts. And they just, the mistake and the no nonsense batted against each other. And now we have no Christian Coleman in the Olympics. So
Mm-hmm.
congratulations. We proved the point. We are saving
Well,
the sport.
well, listen. I mean, there has to be some standard. We've talked about this before, because
Yeah.
otherwise you have a loophole that you can drive a truck through. So the idea here is that you're available, so that way you can take the test, and people know your whereabouts, and they have some belief in the performances that you're putting out. Everybody knew the rules going in. Again, the thing with track, that's so difficult is that it seems to be all or nothing. It's either you're disgraced or you're completely clean. And that's because of the history of the sport, which I fully appreciate and understand. But there's no room for just I was a technical screw up. I messed up. I'll do my time. But after that, can you judge me on what comes next? And again, caveat, I understand. I understand why people won't trust the performances because of the history of the sport. And they'll say, well, it happened 3 times. There must be something going on. But there is room for mistakes. You go through, people probably don't realize this. Go through the Wikipedia pages of many famous athletes. There's a lot of people who've had 3-month things, 6-month issues. Now, they may not have been during the Olympics, so you didn't pay attention to them. But there's been a lot of people who have served suspensions of varying lengths who, to answer your question, I don't think is going to go into the recap of their career when they retire. It's just not going to be, it's not going to be part of it because it was one tiny thing throughout the entire course of their career. Now, if you're talking about a 4-year ban, obviously that's in the first or second paragraph of anybody's career. But sitting out 18 months for something, and then if you come back and you're able to, I'm assuming, avail yourself to all the testing from that point forward, and then still run really fast, I think the people who are on the fence might come back to your side because they're seeing enough from you that to believe that you're a clean athlete. But it's just tough. And I understand where you're coming from in terms of like, oh, now everybody thinks, he's doping. And because in track, there's no misdemeanors. It feels like it's just like either everybody judges you and your entire career because of one mess up, or you're clean. How dare you possibly accuse so-and-so of doing something that they shouldn't do? But it's just like this stuff comes up frequently.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the people who scream the loudest are always on their high horse. It makes them feel good to be like, look at us. We are telling the people that this is a bad man, and just it's like cool. You got 20 retweets on your tweet. That's awesome. But Christian Coleman's clean. And if I'm wrong, whatever. I don't even care that I'm wrong. But I'm not wrong. He's clean and he's gonna run fast. He's probably gonna win in Eugene. And he'll put up a big middle finger when he crosses the finish line. No, he won't do that. He does this, doesn't he? Doesn't he do this with his hands?
He did that.
Yeah,
did that a couple times.
That's what he do.
I did see that.
He'll do that.
Okay.
But
little bit different than the middle finger.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Don't take Gordon's advice, Christian.
He's pissed because he's like being taken out on a technicality. Again, a technicality of a rule that he agreed to. Not saying he's 100% not at fault, but cool.
Because people would say once you're on two, don't even leave it up to chance. Like make sure you take care of business once you're on two. Again, and I understand that, and we don't know what everybody is doing 24 hours a day, and we will never know. So a lot of this requires just doing the best you can from a drug testing perspective and living with the consequences and knowing that you're not gonna ever have 100% certainty either way.
Hey, I went on a shoot last week. I rented a camera. The camera was supposed to be returned on a Tuesday morning. I knew about it Monday morning. I got a second reminder from my boss on Monday afternoon, and then I still forgot to hand in the camera. But I'm not fired yet, I guess.
Well, you're not going to Tokyo either.
I'm not going to Tokyo, I guess. But people, even when they have those two things, like we're human, right? We're not like robots or like every day we know to do this. Like sometimes we sleep in, right? Like we have an alarm clock, but we sleep in sometimes. Yeah, but you set your alarm clock. Why did you wake up? I don't know. I slept in. You can't. We're human. We're not.
Yeah.
Perfect. So anyway, and I guarantee, like talking to other athletes, a lot of athletes are like, oh yeah, have been times when they screwed up the whereabouts login and then just got lucky because it just happened to be a day where no one was going to knock on their door. Because if you think about it, the odds are kind of rare, right? There's so many people, 365 days a year. The odds that one in, if you're only getting tested like 8 times in a year, the odds are like 1 in 30, maybe 1 in 40. So it's kind of rolling the dice. It's like roulette.
Athletes do not listen to Gordon. Do not listen to Gordon about how infrequent this could be. As certain athletes, it's definitely higher. I just think you can have a variety of different viewpoints, but one of them would be that, hey, the suspension was warranted because the rule was out there, but also that once he comes back, then that means he's served his time and you can view him from his career moving forward as somebody who has done his time and is trying to do better. Like that's possible too, right? This was just a screw up, did the time, doesn't mean that he was doping, but hey, that was the rule. Now you have to pay the price, pay the consequence for it. It's interesting that this happens right before we have this crazy 100 on deck. I think it's tomorrow in Florida. Did you see this start list with Noah Lyles?
Is this the University of Florida meet?
Yeah, University of Florida meet. You have Lyles, Gatlin, DeGrasse, Kyrie King, all in the 100. The 200 is interesting too. You have a meeting in the middle there in the 200 with Fred Curley coming down, Trayvon Brobel moving up. You have Sha'Carri Richardson is running the 200. Tori Bowie is entered in the meet. LaShawn Merritt. It's a who's who, Gordon. It should be a pretty good competition. Your face was shocked when I told you those names in the 100 because you're like, wait a minute, that's like half of the world championship final maybe in one race.
It's basically everyone that's going to make the Olympic team except for Bromell, right? So you can kind of look at that as a litmus test. We're like, all right, this is going to be the order, add in Bromell somewhere. But yeah, I mean, but again, 100's crazy. Anything can happen. You could have a good race one day and a bad race the other day. It's not really 100%. If you win this race, you're guaranteed going to Tokyo. But it's a good litmus test. Yeah, sprint action. Dude, I'm loving. We're getting track. FloTrack used to have a saying called "Track is back." We had a T-shirt that had the word "Track is back" on the back of them, and after a year hiatus, it's officially back. Especially when these sprinters are showing up, running some fast times, not jogging. It's exciting.
Well, they're running against each other, and then you're getting all these people
Yeah.
who are coming out because it's the Olympic year for one last ride. You maybe didn't know if they were still competing or not. On the topic of Sha'Carri Richardson, I want to know: have you guys been collaborating on tweets? I saw this. I don't know if you saw this tweet that she posted here, but I immediately thought of you when I read it, where it says, "Just because you still training after you graduate does not make you a professional athlete." Which is something that didn't you and Carl Lewis talk about this last week or 2 weeks ago?
Oh yeah. Well, she has been tweeting a lot of shade and subtweeting at certain athletes. Apparently, my girlfriend JoJo has been keeping track of it. She screenshots it and sends it to me every time there's a new Richardson tweets with like an eye emoji. Apparently, there's a little bit of some beef between her and another athlete, where I don't know what the reason is or whatever, but I think maybe it's preferential. I don't know what. I really have no idea why. But when she's running 10.7 and she's running against women who are on 11.1, she kind of feels like, hey, you're not even in my league. You're just here doing intramurals. I'm here actually doing something that's as a pro, right? It is weird. That's the problem with our sport, right? Is that anyone can go pro, right? There's no like structure, right? There's no like league. Like, I don't become a pro basketball NBA player until I am signed to a contract with the G League or the NBA or a European league or whatever, right? You don't have that in track. Anyone can just show up and be in a pro meet. Like, you don't have to be a professional to even run in a pro meet. Literally, you could be a 4-hour marathoner and you get to run in the pro marathon, right? Think about that. We literally have amateurs running in the same race as Eliud Kipchoge in marathons. We do the same thing with track meets where it's high school kids or even college kids would be mixed with the pros. We don't have a sporting event that is for the people who are professionals, because we have our sport is very like it's for everyone. It's not about the job. It's about your ability, right? And there's always, you want to find that next star who no one wants to invest in, but they're really fast and they come and they beat everyone, and it's a great story, right? But anyone, in order to get into pro track meet, you just got to pay the entry fee, right? You just got to pay $20, $50, whatever. Now to get in the Diamond League, it's a little bit hard, but you don't need to be a pro athlete to run in the Diamond League. You just have to be fast, right? Like, you can.
Yeah, you think those two things go hand in hand, though. If you're fast enough, you will eventually become a pro athlete. It's just enough is the key question.
Yeah, well, Diamond League's probably the more exclusive, but like a Continental Tour meet, the Bronze Continental Tour, you don't need to be fast. Hey, you're in the B heat. All right, cool. Right? Which is fine.
We set the someone gets hurt.
Get bumped up to A heat. Well, it's just, it's kind of weird that our sport is very blended with college, with high school, and with amateurs. It's not separate. And that's why it's kind of hard to follow it, because you have a bunch of pros running at a college meet, like you said, at this Florida meet. And it's every meet a pro runs in is an all-comers meet in a weird way. They just happen to be good and they're being paid, right? It's like,
I mean, I would say the Diamond Leagues are a little bit different, but these absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but the Diamond Leagues aren't happening often enough, right? People don't only run Diamond Leagues, right? So
right, yes.
Oh yeah, but apparently she has some beef with one of her teammates or former teammates. I'm not going to name names. She kind of hinted at who it was by leaking her PB, and they kind of do the math and figure out who it is, which I did. I was able to figure it out in one Google search. I was like, all right, I can figure it out. And I was able to figure it out.
I'll leave that to you. I'll just say the tweets are interesting. I hope she keeps them coming, because they definitely spice things up.
Yeah.
Here's who she's racing
Talk
against.
Love it. Do it. She went 10.72. backwards.
No, I'm responding to your comment, not that. Okay.
Oh, okay.
She's got this 200 today, Friday. We're recording this, so if you're listening to this, the race is already over. But she's got
Okay.
Blessing Okabari in her heat, Lena Irby, that could be interesting, Kyra Jefferson, Shania Collins, among others. So that should be fun. We'll talk more about this weekend in a little bit because we want to do a new edition of Gordon's Guesses, because it's been a couple weeks and we need to see if your power has translated into the outdoor season. But we wanted to talk about Caster Semenya here, who ran at the South African Championships in the 5,000. She ran 15:52 to get the win. She's obviously in a strange situation here where her choices to go to Tokyo are the 200 or the 5,000. That's it. I guess you could add in the steeplechase because of the restrictions. So she could run either a sprint race or a distance race, because that is a situation that she's been put in. This is, again, one of those topics we've talked about for months and months and months. I thought after last year when she was running some twos that she would stick with the two because she seemed close enough. It seemed possible. But I'm guessing you do enough training with your coach, you can see at that level, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to get this extra 10th here, extra 10th there. Now, the 5,000 is going to be tough, though, too, because she's got to go all the way down to 15:10, and she's at 15:52. Now, the South African Championships aren't the pinnacle of athletic competition, and if she gets in some faster meets, I think she can definitely drop that down. What say you?
So not necessarily. First of all, let's talk about why she's doing the 5K. Makes sense because she mentioned, like, I'm only getting older. It's easier to, as an older athlete, they're typically better. Mm-hmm. The longer the distance goes better with age than the shorter distances. And, they run the 3,000 indoors, right? At World Indoors.
Correct.
So, like,
yes,
if you're a really good 50, she's like a 4 flat 1,500 runner, maybe sub 4. I don't know. But you got to think you can translate that to a fast 3K, right? There's got to be some connection to a 3K. It's not like she's going up to the marathon. And in order to qualify for the Olympics, it's not just time standard. You can get in on a world ranking, right? And
okay, here we go.
Your world ranking for the 5K includes 3K and 2-mile times. Like, they count those towards your algorithm. And so, do you know how many people get accepted in the 5K at the Olympics? Is it what the number is? Is it 45?
48? Okay,
48. I don't know. Do
you got me on that? You got me on that one. I don't right now. Okay, but let's just assume. Let's assume the tighter standard. Let's assume 45.
Assume 45. Okay. So I pulled up the current world rankings. 45. Actually, I'm going to go to 44 because that includes an athlete who's run a 3,000. But according to this athlete who has a ranking of 1,104, about the 44th best runner when you only take top 3 per country, her 3K mark is 9:12. So, like, these are her times: 9:12, 15:59, 15:48. Those are her 3 marks, and she is in the top tier to go to the Olympics. 9:12 3K, 15:59 5K, 15:48 5K. She just ran 15:52. So if she runs 2 15:50s, goes out there and runs a fast 3K, she should be able to get in. She doesn't need to run all the way down to 15:10. She just needs to run like maybe 15:40s and a 9:10 and in a 3K, and she should be in.
2016 Olympics had 34 women in the 5K.
Okay.
Just as a point of comparison.
So maybe it was 36. Maybe it was 36.
Yeah. Some scratches, perhaps, that went down to 36.
Yeah. Okay.
I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing
Nicole
here.
Hutchinson, 15:48, 16:06, 8:48. Those are her 3 marks. Like, you don't need to be running 15:10 to make the Olympics. Okay. You just don't. And I think that's what she should do.
She probably knows that. Now, the 200, I'm guessing it's a little more difficult to get in via world ranking, is what you're saying. Because you could do
Yeah.
the same, because she's so good at so many events, you could do the same math and say, hey, she ran 49.62 in the quarter. If you run 49 in the quarter, you can run a pretty fast 200, but you're basically saying, hey, this is the better path because 15:10 isn't the actual standard.
Yeah. No, it's not, because the people running 15:10s top 3 per country is not that much. It doesn't fill up that
Mhm.
quickly. So, yeah, I think she should be fine. I actually tweeted at her, hey, run as many 3Ks as you can, because she can probably run a higher ranked 3K mark than a 5K mark, right? Because she's probably better at the 3. Go get some Caster Invitational 3Ks and make the Olympics. And then she'd be the one that could do a middle finger to everyone, because she's like being like, oh, yeah, ban me, ban this. And then she's there. Oh, and if I were, okay, this will never happen. But like, if all the, excuse me, this will never happen. If all the 5K women in the world, again, this will never happen, wanted to like protest, have like a way to subtly protest the banning of Caster and be like, this is bullshit, she should be able to run. They purposely make sure the 5K final is a sit and kick race. So they're like, all right, we're going to take the first 2 miles out, like 5:30 pace. We're going to chill and then turn it into a final 1500. So then Caster can compete with us at her true ability. I mean, I don't know if she would win, but like, it'll be kind of funny if they're like, hey, let's just make it sit and kick so Caster can be in her element. Again, that would never
You
happen, but it'll be a
actually
subtle protest.
you actually did
I
tweet
do
at
not.
her. I'm looking at your tweets. In
I
between
did.
tweets at Daryl Morey and at 6, this is just an amazing Twitter account that I'm looking at right now. You got Sixers, like bloggers, and then at Kester 800. Hey! Exclamation mark. Why did you decide to open with that? Why did you decide to go with hey first?
I just want
Okay.
to like be super positive. Hey.
Okay. Hey, run a bunch of fast 3Ks this spring. Those races count towards your 5K world ranking. Thus, comma, helping you qualify without needing to hit the 5K Olympic standard. Do you think she read that and was like, hold on, I got this tweet.
Okay.
Let's look at this other guy's tweets. Embiid for MVP.
Here's the thing. You were with me. There are people in the sport
I
of
know
track
what you're
and field who
saying.
do not know the minute details of qualifying.
100%. 100%.
So
there's a
chance she probably thought, oh, I didn't know 3K marks count.
Yeah. We've had many of conversation with many athletes, assuming that they knew stuff about how the sport worked that would be to their benefit to know, and they didn't, which is always funny to me because I always read everything in the comments like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And I think, man, you think we don't know what we're talking about? I have a big surprise for you, because sometimes I bring stuff to the athletes and they're like, wait, that's the rule this year? Like, there's so many, and I don't blame them for it. There's so many rule changes and things going back and forth and different policies and different meets. And there's so much to keep track of. But between who's in, who's out, the standards, who's running what meet, where they're running the meet, the latest change, it is hard to keep track of. But I do like that I thought you were joking when you said I tweeted it at her. And hey,
No.
you didn't! Exclamation mark. You should have been like, hey, Gordon here.
Gordon here for FloTrack.
I'll hang up and listen. Do you know her? Have you interviewed her before?
I have interviewed her a couple times. I did like she knows what FloTrack is.
Okay.
There was one time I was in Europe and she like I think I met her manager or her coach, maybe even her coach at the time. Coach has maybe changed since. But like I filmed her like at Monaco, like doing like a pre-race routine, whatever. And then I got like her contact number. Maybe it was like a contact email. And then I was like, oh, I have her email. I could email her and we could do like a film on her or something, because she gave it to me. And I emailed and no response. No response.
Oh.
So maybe it was a dud email. Maybe she's playing.
Well,
I gave her a Run Junkie hat. She has a Run Junkie.
There you go. Well,
remember Run Junkie? That was a good time.
And now she has a tweet. She's got both. Man. All right. So you think the 5K for sure. are there enough 3Ks out there? I mean, this matters which races she runs, correct? Because there's point
Yes.
value in different championships.
Yeah, it does matter. You'd want to get a 3K at a Continental Tour meet, right? A silver or
Mhm.
bronze. Find one, go run it, win it, then you get the extra points.
Yeah.
There's a way to game the system, and it would be hilarious that the World Athletics literally created a system that made it easier for her to get in when they were trying to get her out. It'd be like they gave her a technicality and then she's back in on her technicality, which would be great.
The law of unintended consequences strikes again.
Exactly.
Hopefully she reads her mentions, right?
I think some people read them. You read your mentions.
I do.
So why wouldn't she?
She gets probably more than me. She's got looks like 500,000
but
followers on Twitter.
I started mine with a "Hey!" exclamation point, super friendly. So she's gonna keep reading it.
She can filter those out. Do you think she has some sort of script on her computer that she just cycles out of? Okay, do you want to do email / questions, or do you want to do predictions next? It's up to you.
What? You tell me, man. You're the host. I'm just the co-host.
Oh, I do not want, especially after reading some of these comments about what people think of you. I don't want to be labeled as the host
I'm a
per
co-host.
se. Okay, yeah, okay. Let's do some questions here because we got this interesting one from Devin on Twitter. Wants to know, how does Bowerman split up their men and women between events? You assume they wouldn't put more than 3 in one event because besides the last one, the women's 10K and the men's 5K. So how would you distribute the Bowerman athletes at the Olympic trials, Gordon?
Okay, I need a refresher who's on. So I guess I think Shelby is 15, Carissa's 5K.
Yes.
And then obviously Sinclair Johnson's 15. I think Elise Cranny will be 5K.
Okay, so that's 2 in the 5K.
And yeah.
You have Schweizer and Cranny in 5K.
Yeah. Vanessa Frazier, I mean, I don't think she's going to I think she's coming off injury, so she's kind of but she'll do 5K.
Okay. So then you put like Enfeld and Merrill Hall in the 10?
Yeah. I mean, you put them also in the 5K. I think they're just going to put everyone in the 5K or the 15, right? And then they all are going to double back in the 10 if they're capable. Now, one strategy might be if Sinclair Johnson is showing that she has speed, you put her in the 800 as a backup plan because the 800 is after the 15, right? Is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So basically the 800 will be the backup plan for most of the 1500 meter runners. 10K will be the backup plan for most of the 5K runners. I don't think anyone will run the 10K fresh. I don't think there's a value to that. They're going to be like, whatever, take two attempts. You don't need to do nothing. But I do think that, I know I reported I didn't report the rumor, but I regurgitated what I heard. I think Shelby will do the 10 as a backup plan. I mean, I think it's going to happen. It makes sense when you really think about it. It's like she has time to still get the standard, whatever. She goes. The standard's not going to be hard for her. She's one of the most talented people in the world. So, yeah, that's how I think they're going to do it.
What about the men, where when you get to the 5...
That's a little different.
And the 10, it's interesting because you got Lamong, you got Woody Kincaid, you got Grant Fisher, you got Sean McGorty. How do you distribute all their talent there?
So it goes 10 and 15 first and then 5 at the end?
Yeah, basically? It's for the men. It's flipped for the women. Yeah.
So I think I think Woody, Lamong, and Fisher will just do 10 and 5, right? And I think McGorty might do 15 and 5.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Do you see anybody try?
I mean, because McGorty and Thompson, right, will do 15 and 5.
And Central will do just 15.
Yeah, 15.
Or
But
maybe
Central will probably
maybe.
use Central will enter the 5. Will be on the start list of the 5, but will only run it if he doesn't make the team, or if he's like,
You
screw
want
it,
to
I'm out.
you want to come to Eugene with a backup plan. I think that's
Yeah.
common knowledge at this point. You don't want to just have one event if you can help it, even if you're very confident in that one event.
This is how it works.
Kieran,
On Olympic
oh, go
years,
ahead.
you have your secondary event as your backup plan, and then your third backup plan is you just find a great grandmother who is born in Djibouti, and you're able to represent a different country, and then you're going to the Olympics. That's
I thought you said
the true backup plan.
there might be a little late for that. Kieran says, will Sam Tanner do better than Nick Willis at the Olympics? Both got selected to represent New Zealand yesterday. What do you think?
I can see that. Yeah, he's younger. I mean, Nick Willis is great, but like I think Nick Willis, he's just eyeing like a swan song type season. I think he would probably love just like figure out a way to make the final, and then he made the final, he'd be like, wow, right? And then anything can happen. But I think Sam Tanner is going to be much sharper coming with the Andy Powell training, has that chip on his shoulder from indoors. He's going to run well NCAAs. He's going to be race sharp. I can see Sam doing better. Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to roll with the guy who's made every Olympic team for New Zealand and Nick Willis one last time. That's tough. It's tough to do it at the right time, especially he's been racing hard, Sam Tanner, since indoor season. I'm sticking with Willis. Tim in Virginia says, one name I don't hear getting thrown into the mix at the Olympic trials is Clayton Murphy. He has one race to his credit in 2021 where he finished last at the American Track League 800 in Arkansas on January 31st. In that race, he was 4 seconds behind Hoppel, 2 seconds back from Engels. Even so, I like his chances in the 800, but even more in the 1500. What are your thoughts on what his best chances are for a return to the Olympics? I think a good percentage of the running community would have a hard time remembering that he was the Rio bronze medalist at age 21. I challenge listeners to name all 3 800 men on the U.S. squad from Rio. The tides have definitely changed in 5 years. To make my case for Murphy, his PRs are currently 47.97 in the 400, 142.9 in the 8, 336 in the 15, 331.99 in the mile, which converts to 334 high. These are more than respectable PRs, but more importantly, he has shown that when there are rounds involved, his stock rises significantly. Interested to hear your thoughts on this guy, and how would you advise him if you were coaching him? That is Tim. I mean,
the
we've
Olympic
talked before about go ahead.
Wasn't the Olympic team Murphy, Berrien, and Jock?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this,
In
but Charles
2016?
Jock actually rode his bike to the race that day. It was not
Berrien made the
reported at all.
Olympics, right?
Yeah, it was Barron.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. But he's right. Most people would not know that. That event has turned over like crazy. And now you have 2 guys at the top who you can't really see getting knocked out of qualification position. And Murphy, very good in the 1500 as well. There was the year he went for both, which was awesome. And I like that he really, took his shot, took a big swing there. Because of where the 15's at, you could say the 15 would be
And the 15's first,
easier
too, right?
path. Yeah, you could say the 15 would be an quote unquote easier. Nothing's easy, but there's no Brazier and Hoppel presence right now. Now, if Central gets cooking in the next month, and then you're like, all right, that's one spot gone. But right now, it does look like there's more room available in the 15 than there is in the 8.
Yeah, the more and more you think about it, especially with the 1500 being first, and a 15-800 double is 100% possible. Yeah, I can see Murphy thinking like, why not? Like the 1500, it would be different if like the 1500 had a Brazier version and a Hoppel, because then it's like, all right, that's, you got to be super on your A game to make the team. But Centro, we know he's good, but it's unknown. Thompson is still kind of new to the game. Craig Engels is a wild card, right? And then everyone else is just 337s and change, right? Or 336s and 337s. Hell, we think 2 college kids are gonna potentially make the team in Nagoose and Hawker. So I'm sure Murphy probably looks at that and be like, hey, if I'm a 336 shape and I still have my wheels, I should be able to be top 3 in that race. So
Yeah.
All right, I can see him doing both.
How many people can close in the 15 like Murphy can close in a 15 if he's back to close to where he was before even?
Not many.
Right. Right.
The
I mean,
question,
that's just
the only question mark on Murphy would be like his health, right? Because he has a reason why we haven't seen him. There's a whole pandemic that
yeah.
went on, but like, uh,
Yeah.
he was still good in 2019. The
Yeah.
question is like, every athlete is good until they're not good, right? They're always
That's a fact.
and you never know when
We
that
should
moment happens, right? Some people it happens at age 30, some happens at age 25, sometimes it
yeah.
happens at age 19 when they get to college because they're like, crap, this isn't for me. We don't know where that is for Murphy. It could be, I'm sure he knows better, but like without seeing results, you just don't know. So there's no reason not to think that he's fine. Right? He
Yeah.
hasn't really, he's still young, right? How old is he? Is he 25, 6, 7, something like that?
You're just gonna name every number in the 20s. It's just somewhere in between 20 and 30 at that point. I'm looking at your 800 rankings though. Brazier, Hopple, you have Murphy third, Kidder, Harris, Jewett, Sawinski, Ellison, Abda, Piazza, there in the top 10. So it's not as if Murphy can't make it in that group. You still have him ranked third. It's just that
Yeah.
Brazier and Hopple are so dug in there, and the chances of somebody from that back group, being able to run a quick time or get sharp, get hot, someone like Harris who's made a team before, is pretty good. Whereas we just don't know what the heck's going on in the 1500.
Yeah. We have no idea.
No. All right.
I think he should do both. I think he will. I mean, would be interesting though if he does do both, right? And say he makes the 1500 team, and then he's like, what if he makes both teams, right? Maybe he doesn't try to double because maybe I'm not sure if the double is possible at the Olympics, but then maybe all of a sudden the fourth place person is making it in either the 8 or the 15. So that might be an interesting kind of situation where you think you're not going to the Olympics, but then Murphy makes both teams. So then you get to go to the Olympics and whatever. Then you have that telephone call where the fourth place 800-meter runner and the fourth place 1500-meter runner are calling up Murphy, making their best offer. Be like, all right, here, what can you offer me for an Olympic dream? That's a good question. What is the financial value? Say you are like an unsponsored athlete, right?
Yeah.
And you get fourth, and you can offer a monetary cash to someone to scratch that event for a different event.
For a different event?
Ever happen? Yeah. So say Murphy made both the 15 and the 8, and he's like, I'm only gonna do one, right? And do you think someone can ever offer like, hey, here's $10,000 if you scratch the 8 and do the 15, so then I can go into the 8? Do you think that ever happens? And if it does happen, what do you think the value is? Like, how much would you be willing to pay someone to scratch that event for a different event so you could become an Olympian? Because there's marketing value, right? If you're an Olympian, you can use that for 4 years.
I don't think that's ever happened, but I do think if it did happen, you'd have to add on another zero to your 10,000 thing. Not scratching for 10,000. Unless it was an event I didn't want to run, unless it was literally the 10,000, and then I would be like, sure, I will bow out of this 10,000. But no, you're going to have to talk. It's got to be 6 figures for me to scratch out. No.
Oh, all right, hold on.
10 grand?
No, wait, hold
10
on.
grand?
Hold on.
Come on. I'm not giving away my spot for 10 grand. No.
Okay, what if you're Donovan Brazier? What if you're Donovan Brazier and you make the 1500 team and the 800-meter team? You are not trying to win the 1500 Olympic title. You want to break the world record in the 800. Having the 1500 in like, hell, maybe Brazier runs the 15. Why not? You could probably easily come back and make the 8, have a backup plan. But
Yep.
If Brazier would make both, clearly he can go into the Olympics all in on the 800, and that's okay. So he doesn't need the 1500. So like, if he could scratch a 1500 for an extra 50K, why wouldn't he take that?
Just so people know who are listening, we're joking. It's not actually what happens.
But this could happen. This
bidding
pull
war,
a McLuffy and jog a prelim in the 1500 at the Tokyo Olympics?
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
the one that
but
just.
the bidding war though, man. Bidding war, supply and demand. Supply is
I don't think
low,
anyone's
only
going to pay
one
more than.
spot.
Well, the only person
I
you can
think
pay for it is the
more
fourth
than
place
10.
finisher.
Oh, that's true. I guess yeah, he's kind of boxed in here. This should be an econ lecture, actually. That's what I'm learning. Okay, let's talk about this weekend. Let's do Gordon guesses.
Oh
Let's do
no,
Gordon's guesses here.
I'm not
Uh,
prepared for this. I haven't done my research.
you're not prepared for this? Well, let's just start first.
We'll figure it out. You hit me and
Let's
I'll
start
figure it
first too with a couple races that are on FloTrack. Let's start first Kipchoge at the NN Mission Marathon, and then Sydney McLaughlin's 400. What do you think Kipchoge is going to run this weekend, and then what do you think Sydney's going to run?
It's funny when you said Kipchoge, I was like, wait, Kipchoge's running Brian Clay, and I was like, wait a minute, and then I realized no, he's running the NN Mission Marathon. What do I think Kipchoge runs?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to give me an over under, or did I just have to guess right on the money? Is that the game? I have to guess right on the money what he's going to run.
Yes, you just have to guess.
He's going to run 2:04:09.
2:04:09 for Eliud Kipchoge is Gordon's prediction. All right, Sydney McLaughlin running the 400 at the Brian Clay Invitational. She's never broken 50. What do you think she does this weekend?
50.2. No,
Excuse me.
no, not 50.2. She's going 50.61.
50.61 for Sydney. I think she's going to
I hate
run
this game.
in between. I think she's going to be run in between her outdoor PR 50.07 and her indoor PR 50.36. I think she's going to go 50.15. 50.15 is my prediction for Sydney. What was yours again?
50.61.
50.61. Do you have a high hurdle prediction too? I think she breaks 13.
13 flat.
Okay, so you got her with that. Got her with that PR. Okay,
Or
give me another.
Or DNS. I can see a DNS. I can see her to be
Well,
like,
the
I'm
high
not doing
hurdles
this. I'm just going to do the 400.
High hurdles is first, so I was actually wondering about that. All right, give me another event here.
I have to give you an event?
Yeah, give me some picks. What's going to happen this weekend?
Well, I don't
This
know
is
that
the
you're
segment.
the ones with you're the one looking at the hey, I'm not the producer of the segment. You're the producer. I'm just the
Gordon's
talent.
guesses
And the
means I
talent.
open it up to you. Who's going to win that 100 at the Tom Jones meet in Florida? That would be
Okay,
that's a
100.
high profile
Yeah.
race. How fast is
Okay.
Sha'Carri Richardson going to run? I don't give me something here.
I think you ready for this? I think Noah Lyles gets second. But that's all I'm going to say. I don't know who wins it, but I think Noah Lyles gets second. I remember there was a race that Noah Lyles ran 2 or 3 years ago where he the year when he goes on to run 19.5 in the 200, he got third or fourth in a random Florida meet. And I was like, how's this possible? I think Noah Lyles gets second. That's my prediction.
Okay. Sha'Carri Richardson's PR in the 200 is 22 flat. Does she go sub 22 this weekend?
No. She's going to run 22.09.
22.09. Still very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still very good.
Who wins that men's 200? Meeting in the middle. You have Fred Curley, who's PB 20.24. Obviously, I think he's going to be targeting that. And then you have Trayvon Bromell, the 100-meter superstar, who has a 200 PB himself, a wind legal 200 PB of 20.03. Are we going to see some sub 20s here?
No, I think Curley's going to win, though. Curley just coming off a 10.03 100. He's got some speed, man, now. So I'm going with Curley. Curley for the win. He's going to run 20.12.
20.12 for the win. Okay. Quincy Hall's in the 400 hurdles. I know you like predicting big things for Quincy Hall.
We're going to see a 49.1 from Quincy Hall.
49.1. Okay. That's those second and third spots are wide open in the United States in the hurdle behind Ryan Benjamin right now. So someone just needs to jump on through and get that spot. Okay. Anything else you want to predict this weekend? Are there any other distance
We
races
should
that you
probably
got your
look.
eye on?
Yeah, so I probably should have done some research. I probably should have prepared this, but I'm behind on the ball. But Oregon is hosting a meet this weekend. Start lists. It's called the West Coast Classic. It's a weird meet where half the meet is in Arizona and the other half meet is in Oregon. The distance stuff is in Oregon. The
That's
sprint stuff
amazing.
is in Arizona. I don't know why, but so we got. I mean, we have like Ella Donahue and a bunch of other Stanford, Oregon athletes in the 1500. But the big race that I'm looking forward to, let's see if I can find it. I think the men's 5K is pretty good. Let me double check. Yeah, so men's 5K, we're gonna have where is it?
While you do that, I'm gonna read some comments because Funky Jam Dude has
Okay,
given us some names.
Charlie
Today. He
Hunter.
says
Charlie
there's gonna
Hunter.
be
Like, yeah.
no. You missed your
We're gonna
window.
see.
I'm reading the
Okay, I missed
comments
my
now.
window.
He says there's some college kids in the 200 in Florida too. Fanbola and Bowling are in the 200.
Ooh.
Trevor Bassett's running. Suleiman in the 800. He says a thing Mo. Is a thing Mo running that race in Oregon or is she in? I'm confused now. Help us out. Help us out in the chat here. Is a thing Mo running in Oregon?
No, I think Texas A&M isn't there. No.
Okay. All right.
No. Oh, here's a good race. Here's a good over under that we can predict. Caitlin Toohey.
Oh.
She is running a 5K.
Baylor 800. I think Mo's running versus Aaliyah Miller and Baylor, according to Funky Jam Dude. So
okay, that's cool. That should be good. Finally, the matchup we've been waiting for. But yeah, 5K in Virginia. You have like all the NC State women, like Jessica Drop. You have some NAU women in there too. But mainly, I want to see Caitlin Toohey, 5K. I guess this is her collegiate debut in the 5K, right? She hasn't run a 5K yet.
Correct.
So I'll place the over-under on Caitlin Toohey's 5K at 15:55. What are you taking?
Oh, under. For sure.
Under?
Yes. Under. Yes. That's not even a question. Her PB's 15:37. She just came off a cross-country race where she was 24th. I mean, 24th in a field that good, trending upwards, getting healthy.
I'll change.
She's running.
I'm changing.
She may not PB, but she's running well under 15:50.
I'm okay. I'm changing it to 15:50 as the over/under. You still taking the under?
I'll still go under.
Okay, I'll take the
again
over on a 15:50. I'll take the
over.
over.
All right, that's fine. You
Robbie
just
Andrews is running.
College freshman. You just keep doubting him, just like Nico Young. You know, nobody believed in him. No one saw the potential except for me. What meet are you even talking about now? I'm so confused where you're at.
The Virginia Challenge.
Okay, there's a lot of track this weekend, is what we're saying. There's just there's a ton of track. There's a ton of track next weekend. As Gordon said, it's back.
So much track.
It's fair to say
it's all
that
back.
Track is returned.
I'm excited to see Robbie Andrews in a 1500. What's he gonna do? Is he gonna? Is Robbie Andrews? Is he done? Or is he still have something left in him?
I think he's on the clock. I think you'd say he was on the clock, meaning you gotta put something up here pretty soon because we're running out of time before the trials. And I think Andrews is for sure one of those guys. We shall see this weekend. He's obviously had a lot of injury, health issues the last couple of years. Anyway,
Tommy Ratcliffe is running the 5K. Dude, remember Ratcliffe in Stanford days? He was what? Like top 3 or top 2 or whatever.
He was good.
Oh,
he was good.
Anyway,
all right.
Watch.
Do you
want
to do the prediction one last time,
Brian?
Do you want to?
Brian, we're interrupting each other. This is an amazing podcast segment. I'm telling people to watch our meets live. Brian Clay,
go
NN Mission Marathon. What does the NN and NN Mission Marathon stand for?
Got to tune in to find out. That's part of the mystique.
Yeah, there you go.
Eliud Kipchoge is running And then Sidney McLaughlin and others at Brian Clay, a lot of distance races as well. We'll leave it there. Enjoy all the track this weekend. Subscribe to the FloTrack podcast YouTube channel and the FloTrack YouTube channel if you haven't already. Oh, check out the interview I did with Justin Knight yesterday if you haven't. It was good. I enjoyed it.
And watch the film.
Thanks a lot
on YouTube.
Producing. And the film is on YouTube. We'll see you Monday.